So, I'm 23. I'm from the UK. I run a faceless YouTube channel called Wi-Fi Uni with 25,000 subscribers, and it makes me around 2 grand a month. And today, I want to tell you about the moment that kind of changed how I thought about the whole thing, which was getting my first ever sponsor, because the circumstances around it were not what I expected at all. And I think the story is actually more useful than any general advice about how to get sponsors, because it tells you something real about how this stuff actually works. Please excuse this AI slop voice. I promise the value in this video is worth it. So let me set the scene, because context matters here. It was about 4 months into running Wi-Fi Uni, and I had roughly 1,000 subscribers. And I want to be clear about what 1,000 subscribers feels like when you're 4 months in, because it doesn't feel like much. Like 1,000 people sounds okay when you say it out loud, but when you're looking at your analytics and your videos are getting a few hundred views each, and the subscriber graph looks basically flat, it doesn't feel like you've built anything yet. It feels like you're still very much in the phase where nothing is really happening. And I was posting every other day, consistently. The niche was AI and making money online. The content was decent, I think, but I had no sponsors. No affiliate income worth mentioning, basically just the early AdSense pennies. And the honest feeling at that point was just keep going and hope something changes eventually. And then one day I got an email. And my first reaction was that it was a scam. And I think that's probably the most honest thing I can tell you about that moment. Because when you're a small channel with 1,000 subscribers and someone emails you saying they want to pay you to feature their product, the most logical conclusion is that something dodgy is going on. Like, nobody pays a channel this small for anything. That's not how it works. And I remember reading the email a few times trying to figure out what the catch was. But it wasn't a scam. It was a legitimate company. They made a TikTok Shop product finder tool, basically something that helps people identify winning products to sell on TikTok Shop. And it fitted the channel perfectly, because my audience was exactly the kind of person who'd be interested in that. People trying to make money online, people looking for tools that could help them do that. And what this led me to realize was that the company had done their research. They'd found the channel, looked at the niche, looked at the audience, and decided that even at 1,000 subscribers, it was worth reaching out. And that was genuinely the first time I understood something important about how sponsors actually think, which is that it's not about the size of the channel in isolation, it's about whether the audience is the right audience for the product. And 1,000 highly specific subscribers interested in making money online is more valuable to the right advertiser than 10,000 random subscribers who watch all kinds of different stuff. So I replied, and here's the bit I look back on now and cringe slightly, which is that when they asked me what I charged, I had absolutely no idea. Like, I hadn't thought about it, I didn't know what the going rate was, I didn't know what a fair price was for a channel my size, and so I just said $50, which was basically a number I pulled out of nowhere because it felt like a reasonable amount for something I'd never done before. And they said yes immediately, which in hindsight tells me I massively underpriced it. Because if someone agrees to your price that fast, it usually means they were prepared to pay more. And I think the fair rate for that kind of integration, even at 1,000 subscribers in a specific niche, was probably double or triple that. But I didn't know that at the time. And honestly, I'm not sure it matters that much, because the $50 wasn't really the point. The point was that it proved the model worked. Like, I now had evidence that a faceless YouTube channel in this niche could attract paying sponsors. And that changed how I thought about everything. Because before that email, I was just hoping the theory was right. And after it, I knew it was. And the thing that really stuck with me from that first deal was how naturally the integration fitted into the video. Because I was already making content about ways to make money online, and TikTok Shop was a legitimate topic I'd have covered anyway, and the sponsor just slotted in as part of that. Like, here's a tool that people trying to do this thing would find useful. Here's how it works, here's a link, and the video didn't feel like an ad. It felt like a useful recommendation that happened to be paid. And I think that's the whole reason the education niche is so good for this. Because the alternative is what you see on entertainment channels, where the sponsor has nothing to do with the content, and the creator just has to awkwardly stop everything and read an ad, and everyone skips it, and the creator knows everyone skips it, and the whole thing feels a bit hollow. And what this leads to is sponsors getting less value from those integrations and being less willing to pay. Whereas in my case, the integration is the content. The product fits the video. The audience is receptive because they're already interested in exactly this stuff, and everyone gets more value out of it. After that first deal, more came. Slowly at first, and then more regularly as the channel grew. And the rates went up as I got a better sense of what to charge. Like, by the time I was at 5,000 subscribers, I was charging closer to $100. And by 10,000, it was in that 100 to 200 range where it sits now. And what I learned from that progression is that the first deal is really just about proving to yourself that it's possible. The money gets better as the channel grows, and as you get more confident about what your audience is actually worth to an advertiser. And I also got much better at the email side of things, like knowing how to respond, knowing when to push back on a rate, knowing which products to say yes to and which ones to turn down. And all of that came from doing it repeatedly. And it started with a $50 deal for a TikTok product finder that I almost dismissed as a scam. The thing I'd want someone who's early in their channel journey to take from this is that the first sponsor comes earlier than you think, and from a direction you don't expect, and at a point when you feel like the channel is still too small for anyone to care about. And the reason for that is that the companies doing the outreach are not looking at your subscriber count the same way you are. They're looking at your niche and your audience and asking whether those people would buy their product. And if the answer is yes, 1,000 subscribers is enough for some of them. So if you're sitting at a few hundred or 1,000 subscribers thinking it's too early to even think about monetization, it's probably not. And the best thing you can do is make sure the channel looks professional, the niche is clear, and the content is consistently good. Because those are the things a company is actually looking at when they decide whether to reach out. The first deal won't make you rich. Mine made me $50, and I undersold myself. But it'll make you understand that the whole thing is real, and that changes everything about how you approach it from that point on. If you want more help building something like this, I do have a school community linked in the description. There's direct feedback available depending on which tier you join, completely up to you. Cheers for watching.